wish I had some young ladies who was unashamed of the gospel of Jesus Christ. That ain't all of y'all. I wish I had some fellas who's not ashamed to serve Jesus. That's what I'm talking about. Where the fellas at? Now, we were warming up. On this one, we gonna get real crazy. I don't know what's gonna happen, but we just gonna go with it. I wish I had a generation like the play said, whenever I shout who you represent, you ain't scared to shout God. On some, who you represent, 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 who you represent. Now, we gonna jump and go 3 times this way, and then 3 times back this way. So tell your neighbor, move out the way. Awesome, watch me. Who you represent? 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 Now stop. I want all my soldiers who know that God touched your heart during that worship right there, make some noise. Keep it going. 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 5 seconds. 4 seconds. 3, 2. Here we go. Who you represent? God. Who you represent? God. Who you represent? Who you represent? Who you represent? Who you represent? God. Who you represent? God. Who you represent? Hey, yo, we represent. We represent. Hey, yo, we represent. We represent. Listen up, y'all. You gotta keep a close eye on the people that you move with. Everybody nowadays is marching in the movement. Some ain't gon' like what I say in my songs. They march for the right so they could do what is the wrong. Abortion is sin, homosexuality is a sin. And if you're born that way, then you can be born again. Sometimes I really wonder if this world is listening, cause we are not the same. I am a Christian. I rap the Bible. Christ is what I'm into. It should show if he has a relationship with you. Take up your cross. Deny yourself. Follow me. If you are a man of God, you can't watch pornography. Can't fornicate. Throw away them condoms. I don't care how much honey say she wants them. Even when they not looking. Rep him to your core. Rep him in the public eyes. Y'all ready? Here we go. Who you represent? God. Who you represent? Who you represent? Who you represent? God. Who you represent? God. Who you represent? God. Who you represent? God. Who you represent? I said I represent. 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 Now don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to stop the riot, but I do believe the church has been too quiet. The world is busy marching, legalizing everything. What they really want to legalize is sin. Hey, same-sex marriages, let me just testify. When you legalize that, here comes the pedophile and the polygamist and the one who weed smoke. Next you know, you gonna have to legalize real coke, induced birth abortion. They are anti-life. It's a lawless society who's anti-Christ. God hates racism. He hates to see injustice. Question that I'm asking, where are the churches? Keep telling me, learn to tolerate. But when I say what I believe, they tell me that it's hate. But I love all sinners, and I don't discriminate. But when it comes to sin, I refuse to. Now who you represent? God. Who you represent? Who you represent? Who you represent? Now who you represent? Who you represent? Hey. Who you represent? Who you represent? Until we represent. Hey yo, we represent. Hey yo, we represent. Make sure you send that to me. Represent. Hey yo, we represent. Come into my classroom, grab a chair, please sit. Lot of things we think is cool, God ain't really pleased with. We think we get away with it, cause it's done in secret. But you fool yourself because he always, man, I've been bought with a price. Yes, I am loving it. God so loved the world that his only son hung for it on the cross. Now I am under his gun. The rainbow's not a sign of gay pride, but of a covenant. This is not a hate speech. It's a warning. What y'all calling lifestyle? He already calls it. World is impatient. They're constantly racing. I switched up my style to bring it to your generation. Man, y'all need salvation. You are so unaware. There's a God up above, and he really do care. But you built up a great wall around you like China. You're a perfect design. Here we go. Everybody, who you represent? God. Who you represent? God. Who you represent? God. Who you represent? 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 Hey yo, we represent. Hey yo, we represent. Hey yo, we represent. I said I represent. Hey yo, I represent. Hey yo, I represent.